It is time to winterize this NSX. In no particular order, I'm going to set up this battery tender. I'm going to extend the connection from the battery using this and this so that there's a nice long reach coming from the battery somewhere out here so that all I have to do is reach underneath and then plug it into this. What I'm also going to do is change the oil so that there's fresh oil sitting in the motor throughout the entire winter. I'll also be adding fuel stabilizer to the fuel tank. Another thing I'll be doing is adding a little bit more air to the tires to help prevent some flat spotting. I'm going to do the simplest thing first, which is to put in the fuel stabilizer. Oh, I'm spilling it on the ground. How about that? Great. Got a mess to clean up. This is supposed to be the easiest part of winterizing, and look at that. I already made a big mess. Everything always goes as planned, right? Attempt number 2. Alright, we are done with the fuel stabilizer. Time to pop the hood and get the battery tender all hooked up. What I need to do now is sort of assess the situation here. If you can see it, the battery is tucked back there. I can see one of the terminals here, which I can probably access, but I'm gonna have a hard time getting to this one down here. So spare tire is gonna have to come out. So far, this is really easy to twist off. I'm liking that. Nice, this part comes off. All right, here we go. Just for now, I'm gonna set this spare tire over here. I now have very easy access to the terminals there, so that's great. I think I might have to end up lifting the car up on the quick jacks just so I can understand what my options are as far as how to wire my battery tender into this. Alright, now that it's up on the quick jacks, I have much easier access to the battery terminals. Very easy to reach now. So what I'm going to do is unhook the negative and the positive and then install this in there. Take this off and move it aside. Gently pry this off. Time to open this up. All right, I'm going to loosen up this nut right here and then feed the positive end right here, right in between there. Route it behind here. Hook this on like that. Feed it through the hole there. And then I'm going to loosely put this nut back on for now. Just going to hold that in place for the time being. All right, negative side. I'm blocking the terminal so that the wires and the metal here doesn't make contact with the terminal. All right, gonna loosen up that top nut there. Take that off the rest of the way by hand. Now I'm gonna insert this part right there. Take the nut and loosely place it back on to hold it in place. All right, I finished routing this the way I wanted it to go. Let me show you how I did it. So the other end of this wire right here travels up and hooks onto the battery terminals. And then this end goes like this, up here. I routed it through here. I found a metal bracket that this goes over. And then it tucks up there, comes right through here. And then there was a little bit of slack here, so I tied this up. And then the very end is gonna stick out right here. So this end is what I'm gonna hook up the battery tender to. Now it's time to hook the terminals back up. Time for the negative side. It is time to unbox this and plug it in. All right, got this ready to go. What I'm gonna do now is plug this end into the end that's tucked up under there. Just gonna plug that together like so. And just to make sure these caps don't collect dust, I'm gonna connect those as well. Okay, so we are wired up here now. The last thing to do is to just plug her in. And down here, it is charging, so everything's working properly. And as you can see, I left enough clearance in here so that the spare tire can make it back in here without interfering with anything, including the new wires down below. Now that this setup is completed, I wanted to back up a little bit and show you how it looks. I have two reasons for doing it this way. Number one, convenience. Number two, aesthetics. All I have to do is take the end of this, reach under here, plug it in. I'm done. If you don't do it this way, then you have to pop the hood and then hook these up onto the terminals. And what ends up happening with that is you now have a wire that goes over your front bumper and then kind of just dangles down here. And that leads me to reason number two, which is aesthetics. The car looks so much better with the hood completely closed. This is the way it's intended to look. But if you have a wire that goes from here and leads up and enters through the hood that's cracked open, it looks awful, in my opinion. Next up, time to change the oil. So just for extra safety, before I spend too much time underneath the vehicle, I'm gonna set up more support as a fail-safe, just in case the quick jacks end up collapsing. I'm just trying to buy enough time so that I can quickly get out from under the car. I'm gonna start off the oil change by removing this cap here. I'm ready to start draining the oil. Got me a bucket and some cardboard here to help with some potential spill. And this is a 17mm socket. Woo, nice slip there. Got it loose. All right, I'm gonna raise the bucket up to catch it. There we go. I have a new crush washer right here, and I'm just gonna put that on right now before reinstalling this drain plug. Then I got my torque wrench here, already set to 33 pound-foot. There we go. Then I'm just gonna wipe this down. How many things could possibly go wrong while trying to winterize a car? How did this happen? I'll tell you how. This was a clean bucket sitting in the front of the garage, and I put a bunch of things in it so that I can bring it to the back of the car. And then when I went to grab this bucket to use it to drain the oil, I forgot to check in here to make sure there was nothing in here. So, I don't know if I'm gonna top this one for a while. All right, time to remove the old filter. I ended up cleaning this thing with soap and water and then sprayed it with isopropyl alcohol. So I think it's nice and degreased now. All right, let's get this new filter in there. Just oiling up the new filter here. All right, that's good. Then I'm gonna wipe all this up. Here we go, putting the new oil in there. So I did 5 quarts already, but the NSX calls for 5.3 quarts. So here's the rest. Well, that wraps up the oil change itself. Now I'm gonna start the engine, and that's gonna do 2 things. First, it's going to circulate the new oil, and then second, it's going to circulate the fuel stabilizer that I put in. Here we go, time to start the engine and get all the fluid circulating. So I'm just gonna leave this going for about 5 to 10 minutes. All right, I think that's about enough time. Time to turn it off. So I'm gonna let all the fumes vent out for about half an hour. Next up is to fill up the tires by just a little bit to help prevent flat spotting. Here I have a Milwaukee M18 air compressor to do the job. Now to play it safe, I'm gonna put on these earplugs. This thing is very loud, about as loud as a lawnmower, and I'm inside a closed garage right now, so that's gonna be crazy loud. All right, gonna turn the power on. And then screw this in. And we can see that the pressure is lower than it needs to be anyway. The stock pressure should be 33 psi for the front tire. Now for winter storage, I'm gonna set this to 42. So I'm gonna change the target here to roughly 43, because when I unscrew this thing, I'm gonna lose about a half to 1 full psi. So I have my target set. Now all I have to do is turn it on. All right, that should do it for this tire. I'm gonna unscrew this and you'll hear the air hiss out a little bit. Let's see how much air we lost there. There we go, and we lost 1 psi, and 42 was what I was going for anyway, so this is perfect. Now I'm gonna repeat this process for the rest of the tires. All right, looking good on this last tire. Last but not least, let's not forget about putting the spare tire back. And just gotta make sure it faces the right way. And then this tool fastened it to the bracket back there. Nice and tight. That should do it. Close the hood up. Well, that's going to wrap it up for winterizing the NSX. I'm going to leave it on the quick jacks for now because there are still a few other things I want to do that would really benefit from it being lifted up. That's going to be it for this one. Thanks for joining me. Okay, bye.